So good afternoon, good evening. So today we will start with environmental contamination and remediation. Okay, and this is one of the hot topic in current day perspective. Okay, so what happened is that if you look into the industrialization aspect across the globe, we are looking into the environmental pollution. Okay, and this has happened not uh, in a couple of decades. It has been happening over 2 centuries of industrialization process. Okay, so how does a simple contaminant it actually become a risk? It is an important thing to understand, because if you look into the contaminants, they are basically small contaminants, and if we can contain them, we will be able to overcome the disadvantages. But how these simple contaminants, they are actually becoming a risk to the, not only to the human mankind, but also to the whole ecological system. That is an important thing. Okay, over here we need to understand a triangle, what is regarded as the risk triangle. So in the risk triangle there are three important parameters. First is the source, second is the pathway, and third is the receptor. Okay, so what happens? Source, it is basically the source of contamination. Then pathway means, when, say for example, there is a nuclear site. Okay, you will be having some nuclear wastages. Okay, so how it is coming out of the contained area and it is affecting a large population, so there must be some pathway. Okay, so that pathway plays an important role in the contamination thing. If we are able to contain the source of contamination, then also we can say that we have taken sufficient measure to remedify the problems of the contaminants. Okay, because it will not be affecting the larger ecological system. Okay, then receptor. So how it is affecting the different organisms, or say humankind. So those who are consuming those contaminants, or those who are inhaling or intaking those contaminants into their body, they are regarded as the receptor. Okay, so over there we have a whole ecosystem, right? So understanding the source, pathway, and the receptor of the contaminants, it's an important thing to remember in the remediation thing. Okay, so here we have the definition of the source. So when we talk about the sources, there are 5 key categories. Okay, so what are the 5 key categories? The first one is the heavy metals, second is petroleum hydrocarbons, third is industrial solvents, fourth is radioactive waste, and final one, the fifth one, is emerging contaminants. Say for example PFA, which is also regarded as the forever chemical, and it stays within the environment for unlimited time. Okay, then pathway, how the pathway is taking the contaminants from the source, and it is uh, what you call taking the contaminants to the receptor. The process through which it happens, it is called the pathway. Okay, so the pathways of contamination, there are 5 levels of these pathways through which the contamination may happen. The first one is the soil, second is the groundwater, third is the surface water, fourth is the sediments, and lastly the air. Okay, so receptor, the person, organism, or the ecosystem that could be harmed by the contaminant, it is called the receptor. Okay, so the main 3 mediums uh, for this contamination include the soil, groundwater, and air. Okay, soil, how it what is its role in the transport? Leaches contaminants into the groundwater. Groundwater, it carries the pollutants for miles unseen, so you cannot detect it. And air, it allows for widespread dispersion of the contaminants over a wide area. Okay, so the food chain effect, when we talk about the food chain effect, there are 2 important things that comes into picture. The first one is bioaccumulation and the second is biomagnification. Okay, bioaccumulation means accumulation of the contaminants over a period of time within the receptor. Okay, now second is biomagnification. Herein we have this food chain effect. So what happens, if you see in the planktons and the crustaceans, they might be accumulating the contaminants. Now, when small fish, they consume these planktons and crustaceans, what happens? They are not taking only one plankton or two planktons. They are consuming a large number of planktons and crustaceans. So what is happening? Cumulatively, the contaminant concentration, it is increasing in the small fishes. Then when the seabirds, they are consuming these contaminants, they are not taking one or two fishes, they are consuming large number of fishes. Again, if you see, the contaminant, it is getting accumulated within the bird in large amounts. Okay, so what is happening? So the effect of the contaminant within the what you call organism or the mammal which is in the top tier of the this pyramid, they will be having a magnified effect. Okay, they will be having the magnified effect, and hence this is called the biomagnification. So first is bioaccumulation and second is the biomagnification. Okay. So breaking the chain, so we have this chain: source, pathway, receptor. Somewhere if we can break the chain, say for example source to pathway or pathway to receptor, if we can break the chain, we should be able to contain the contaminants within a specific area, and that might be useful in remediation process. Okay. So till date what happens is that nearly 46% of the contaminated sites, they have been remediated. Okay, however still there are around 54% of sites which awaits the remediation process. Okay, so our contaminated legacy, why remediation is essential. Okay, over 200 years of industrialization, it has left a widespread legacy of pollution. Contaminants, they threaten the ecosystem, biodiversity and human communities, making remediation a global necessity. Okay, so over here, how we got this contamination effect in the Mother Earth. So there are five main problems. So first one is the industrial, from the industrial operations we got the contaminants. Then catastrophic spills like in the oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico in the year 2010. Then mining activities, we are getting the contaminants into the environment. Then nuclear wastage, it is one of the very grave what you call contaminant in the today's world. And improper waste disposal, it's also leads to contamination. Okay, so contamination timeline, if you look, um, in USA there is a place which is regarded as, which is known as brownfields. Okay, so over there there have been this industrial activity, and because of that the land, it became inhabitable. Okay, so nowadays what people are doing, they are trying to overcome this contamination thing, and they are trying to um, uh, what do you call, they are trying to make some strategical changes at these hazardous sites, so that they becomes safe for new housing parks and commercial places. Okay, so this is how we can overcome the contamination. We can what you call, we can redevelop the site where it has become inhabitable to nature. Okay, so ground beneath our feet, it often holds a toxic legacy, and we must confront it. Okay, so tri-state mining district. So over here what happens is that due to the mining, what happened is that if you see the water bodies, it got contaminated. Okay, and it became yellowish in nature, and it due to the presence of lead, zinc and cadmium. Okay, and due to this, what was happening, there was some this acid mine drainage, and it made the surface water toxic, right? So now people are trying to do some this remediation over there, so that this site can be rehabilitated again. Okay, so among the modern day disasters, what happens, one of the common disasters is the deep water horizon, which took place in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. So there was a huge spillage. Now due to that spillage, the aquatic life, they became endangered. So since the aquatic life was affected, the fishermen, they were having problems in catching the this livestock. Okay, so because of that, what was happening, they were not getting sufficient amount of money to run their family, and it ultimately was affecting the GDP of the country. Okay, so see, everything is interconnected. Your contamination is not only is what you call associated with the environmental effects, but it is also associated with the economic consequences. Okay, so, nuclear shadow, a formidable challenge. So, there is a site which is regarded as the Hanford site in Washington, USA. So, over there, the plutonium production was being carried out for the US nuclear weapons program. Okay. Now, what is happening is that many of the containers in which the nuclear waste was being held, they are outliving their this their lifespan. Right now, what is happening? Some of these storage tanks, they are leaking, and when they are leaking, these contaminants, they are getting access to the underground water, and through that it is affecting the whole population. Okay, so nearly all are beyond their design life in the Hanford site. Okay, so this is how it is happening. Initially they were this 177 underground tanks. So 149 were single shell and 28 were double shell. Okay, so there is now leakage in the single shell storage underground storage tanks. Okay, so the problem with radioactivity is that it stays in the environment for a very long period. Okay, so invisible and emerging, so the dangers that we cannot see. Suppose we are having this industrial belt, so they are discharging the waste into the nearby water bodies, and from there the wastages or the contaminants, they are gaining entry into the underneath the underground water flow system. So these contaminants, suppose the contamination is happening over here at this site, so they are now getting carried away to a far off site where there are industrial sites, or not industrial, the residential sites are there. Now, if there are some crevices and if the soil is loose or there is some crack in the ground, so what will happen? The volatile contaminants, they will gain entry into those homes or in a populated area. So that is undesirable in nature. Okay, so the invisible plumes, the solvents and the pesticides, they may gain entry into our homes even though they are located far off from the industrial sites. Okay, so again there is a risk over there. Then emerging contaminants, so there are some examples like PFAS, which is regarded as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and they are being used in, say, firefighting foams, non-stick coatings, okay, Teflon coating utensils we have. Then we are having water repellent fabrics. So in all of this chemical is used, and this chemical, since it is having CF bond, which is much stable than the CC bond, so it stays in the environment for a very long period. Okay, it stays in the environment for a very long period, and they cannot be what you call degraded into the systems into non-toxic chemicals, and they are creating a problem over here, right? So its definition and other properties has been given over here. So what to do? Because when we have some development, it will come with some disadvantages, and in this case it is basically the contamination. Okay, so we have to engineer our way. So the biggest public health crisis in the current day is from the chemical poisoning in the history of the human mankind. Okay, so the human cost of contamination. So we may have acute exposure to the human mankind, say for example in the deep water horizon, or chronic exposure may happen as in the case of Hanford nuclear site. So environmental remediation. So remediation is basically risk mitigation. So primary goal of environmental remediation is to manage and reduce unacceptable risks to human health and the environment. Okay. So the objective is not always to return a site to a pristine pre-industrial state. Okay, that is not possible. Okay, it is a practical science-based process focused on breaking the chain of risk, the chain that we already discussed. And lastly, the success is measured by measuring an area safe for its intended use, be it a park, residential area, or a protected ecosystem. Okay. So remediation objective is basically to break the chain, the triad chain, the risk triad chain that we discussed, and make the land or the environment again reclaimable to the prosperity of the not only the human mankind but also to the other ecological systems. Okay. So why this matters? Because it is associated with public health. So it enables sustainable development. It helps us in designing resilient infrastructure, and importantly, it helps us to restore our ecosystems. Okay. So your future impact. So we need to analyze the risks, and we have to develop innovative technologies, and then we need to lead projects that can help us mitigate the problem of this contamination. Okay. So remediation is the process of restoring the balance to contaminated environments. Okay. So what are the different spectrums of solutions? We have excavation and disposal. So you must have seen that there is a large disposal site, a waste disposal site outside the city. So what the government does, the municipal corporations does, they collect all the waste and they go and put it over there. So similarly, if some site it has become contaminated, what they can do, they can excavate the area and they can take the soil and put it into storage containers and they may dump it somewhere else. Then capping and containment. So after we have taken this, we put it in an area where it is contained and we close it in an airtight water sealed containers, so that this process is called capping, and so that what happens, the contaminations they remain within those capped vessels. Okay. Then pump and treat. So if there are some waters, so we can pump out the water and then recycle that. Okay, do some treatment, and then we can again recycle it for purposes for which we can use it. Okay, without any problem. Okay. Then in situ chemical oxidation. Because recycling, if you see, you have to pump out the water, then you have to put it into some water treatment plant. So you need a lot of infrastructural development. Okay. So another what you call way or the strategy to deal with such kind of systems, say for example in the underground water systems, you cannot pump and treat whole of the this underground water, right? So in those cases, what we can do, we can go for the in situ chemical oxidation. So we can put in oxidizers, say for example ozone, so with some catalyst, so they will go and they will oxidize the chemicals within the this groundwater itself. So there is no need to take out the water on the earth's surface, then treat it and again put it back, right? Then bioremediation. In the bioremediation, basically there are two processes. The first is the this bioremediation, and second is the phytoremediation. Bioremediation, it uses microbes for the remediation process, and phytoremediation, it uses plants. Okay.